Hi and welcome to Z Games. Recorded live at 4ZZZ Studios in Brisbane and broadcast nationally over the Community Radio Network, Z Games brings you the latest gaming news, reviews and interviews from across Australia and around the world.
Hello. This is Z Games, Australia's premier video game program. Welcome, one and all, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is surely going to be the best episode of Z Games ever produced. I can guarantee you that. I, Razor, will stake my reputation on that. All right, as I mentioned, my name is Razor. I am joined in the studio today for this episode by Jody McGregor.
Hi, Ray.
Hey, Jody.
You're staking your reputation on this being the best show. How good is your reputation?
It's immaculate.
Okay, good. All right.
Yes. Also joining us is the lovely Miss Candy Payne.
Ah, thank you, Razor. So good to be here.
What have you been playing over the weekend, Candy?
Assassin's Creed, Black Flag, pirates and stuff.
Are you ready to tell us all about it?
Oh, probably.
Yep.
Yeah, I can think of a few words to say.
Very cool.
Yep.
I'll also be imparting my thoughts on a game called Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. It's a collectible card game. But we have a lot of news to get through. Miss Candy Payne, are you prepared to read it?
Oh, why not?
Please do.
Sony's PlayStation 4 has launched late last week in North America. A statement from Sony claimed that over 1 million consoles had been sold to consumers within the first 24 hours of its launch. Reports of defective consoles have been appearing on the internet. The main problem seems to be defective HDMI ports and the blue light of death. I feel like I could just say that's scary. The blue light of death, in which the console enters a completely unresponsive or bricked state. An initial statement from Sony said that they were expecting a defect or failure rate of 0.4%, and an updated statement a few days later announced that the failure rate was under 1%. A Sony rep told Game Informer, "We are exchanging units with new replacements for those who call our support line. The exchanges are immediate with expedited shipping."
That does suck for those people who are affected. And
Americans.
Those Americans, yeah, and it's good to see that Sony are taking steps to rectify it quickly. Some people thought that perhaps they'd have to wait until the next shipment of PS4s like next year before they can get a replacement. Luckily, that's not the case. And it's good for us here in Australia as we sit back and watch those Americans and their faulty things, and we can maybe that's an example of how, Sony Australia are going to be handling it as well.
More importantly, the blue light of death doesn't even sound dramatic. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's no red ring of death, like Xbox. That had a lot to live up to. Like, that just sounded like a painful death.
The red ring of death.
The blue light of death sounds kind of pleasant.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind
off
being...
into the light. Yeah.
I think being, taken by a blue light to be killed would be...
Yeah, well, there's
Go
no
gently
red
into
ring.
the blue light.
Gently, yeah.
Gently, red ring.
A
yeah.
very nice death.
Speaking of releases, Xbox is also out this week.
That's right. The Australian launch of the Xbox One is this Friday. This is a worldwide thing, so everyone's getting it at the same time. It's going to be madness. Yeah.
Wonder if they've fixed their red ring of death. DICE, the developers of Battlefield 4, have had a rough week with a distributed denial of service attack on their PC servers and widespread instability and crashes occurring on the PS4 version of Battlefield 4. DICE issued a statement saying that the team is working hard to fix the issues, but that hasn't stopped hundreds of angry users voicing their complaints on the official Battlefield forums.
Have you had any problems, Jody?
Yes, I have.
What happened?
I stopped playing it basically because of how difficult it was to get onto the servers, with them constantly dropping out halfway through a game, which is frustrating because you lose your progress, all of those XP you've earned, and sometimes you just can't get online at all. So I might go back later on, but for now, it's been enough to drive me away from it.
A paper published by the University of Glasgow has found that playing video games does not have a negative impact on the behaviour of children. The study featured a sample of 11,000 children and recorded their behaviour over a 2-year period, making it the largest study on the behavioural impact of video games ever conducted. The study concluded that allowing children up to 3 hours a day of screen time, whether it was television or video games, had a negligible impact on the behaviour of the child. Best study ever.
Yeah, I just like to say, to all those people that think that video games are bad for you or
Yep.
your children,
Yep.
check and mate.
I know. We talk about this so often, and then still we hear video reports and news reports and things where they're blaming video games. There's a shooting, there's this, there's that. It must be video games. And I just think there is so much evidence out there to contradict that. I just
Yeah.
don't know how people can still keep saying the same thing over and over. But
That's right.
excellent study.
11,000 children
That's
over a 2-year
epic.
period. That's what I'd call a really in-depth study, which may produce some definitive results.
Yep.
So,
And I feel like that would encompass quite a large number of violent video games from the last 2 years. So
Yeah.
Well, one of the interesting things that came out of that study was that the overwhelming majority of the parents involved were quite strict about what games their children played, but not what television they watched, because it was counting all screen time. And those kids, the
Interesting.
majority of them, like their parents didn't know and didn't report what shows they were watching, how much TV they watched, but not, watch whatever you want. Whereas with games, the majority of the parents were quite strict about what they actually let their children play.
Interesting. And so then at like 9 o'clock, off the kids go, instead of off to bed, off they go and watch CSI or some other crime show or something. I don't know. Interesting.
yeah, I think it still is the perception that video games are more harmful because of direct interaction.
Yeah, it's the interactivity. I understand that, but everyone's wrong.
When I was a,
As proven by 11,000 children.
when I was a kid, your parents would care a lot more about what TV you watched. I guess they've just sort of shifted their idea of which is the big risk.
Well, you see,
Yeah.
when you're a child, Jody, what were the games that you're playing? Super Mario Brothers, Duck
Pac-Man.
Hunt. Yeah, I mean, no sane parent is going to look at those games and think, oh, that's going to be damaging, because there's like 3 pixels on the screen. You can't really see what's happening.
Hey, Duck Hunt. That was vicious.
All right, well, that's it for the news. Next up, we'll be talking all about Assassin's Creed.
We're talking pirates today. I'm excited again. I get way too excited when I talk about Assassin's Creed.
Yep.
It's a bit of a problem. Not so much with the last one because it was rubbish. This one, however, is not rubbish. It's good. It's Black Flag. It's about pirates. And I have taken so many notes, I don't actually know where to start. So I'm just going to start at the beginning.
Well, you did give us a pretty decent
did.
overview last week on the show.
I did. I don't remember what I said, but I know it was in-depth.
Overwhelmingly positive
Oh, good.
to excess, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, look, I found negatives. I've played another 6% in and I found some negatives, but
Okay.
they're not big. They're little negatives.
All right, so we just briefly recap the story of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag for the listeners who didn't catch last week's show.
Yep, you're a pirate, Edward. Lots of flashbacks.
You're a Welsh pirate, right, this time?
Am I?
Isn't he Welsh?
Is he Welsh?
Yeah.
You know, I didn't pick up on
No, he
that.
is.
No, I
He's
thought he was
Welsh.
British.
Well, Wales is in Britain, yes.
Yeah, okay. But,
It
well,
might not be a great Welsh accent, but he is supposed to be Welsh.
it's not a great Welsh accent then.
Doesn't say boyo in every sentence, no.
No, he doesn't. No. Probably because it's set in the 1700s and I don't know if that was a thing then. So you play Edward, you get a lot of flashbacks, so you kind of understand very early on that he is a man that wanted a better life for himself and his wife. And so he started out with a respectable job. He was in the British Guard or something like that. And that wasn't paying enough. So he left and decided to become a pirate. On one of his pirate trips out in the sea, I don't know, there's some naval battle takes place, and this is where you first run into, this is not really a spoiler alert, anyone, you run into an assassin, and that's kind of how he becomes the assassin, because the assassin dies and he takes on the uniform. So he's not really one of the assassins as we have seen throughout the previous games, where you're trained and, you come from a long family of assassins.
Yep.
It's not that. You just kind of assume this role, and he goes on to pretend to be Duncan to work his way into higher class areas and do bad things.
But that particular story is only a part of the entire Assassin's
It is.
Creed
That's
story,
really
right?
the
Because
beginning. Yeah.
There's this backstory in which there's a futuristic company that is sort of looking into people's genes
Yes.
to discover their memories, and this is how we're stepping in to
Yes.
these historical figures' shoes.
So this side of it, if people have played before, you'll be very familiar with the terms Abstergo and Animus. The Animus is the virtual reality machine that you step into or you hack into as part of this Abstergo company, which transports you back through time and you are reliving past memories. So all of the other games are all about collecting these fragments and these secrets throughout life to kind of connect the dots into a bigger picture of what this Abstergo company is doing. But it was all kind of done hidden underground with this funny little IT team, in the depths of a cavern somewhere in Rome or something like that. This one, it's kind of flash forward, I guess. Abstergo has now become quite a large company. So you don't know who the character is yet that you're playing. You don't meet him like you met Desmond Miles with the other storylines.
Well, interestingly, yeah, because in the past, as you said, it was Desmond who was the main character.
Correct.
Who was going back into time. But in this instance, it's a first-person perspective.
Exactly.
So I guess it's you.
It's
the
you.
player.
Yeah, it's me.
Yeah.
So you're hired by this company, Abstergo, to relive these memories, which is why you're transported back to the pirate days, which is a lot of fun.
Why do they want you to relive these memories? Are they...
Good question. That, I guess, is all part of the bigger picture. So part of your, I guess maybe within 12% of the game, so really early on in the game, this is where you kind of make a friend over the internet waves. Like you keep meeting friends. Like he's tapping into your headset. You walk around with an iPad, tablet sort of device, and so you can, as you're walking around from people's computer stations, it looks pretty much like maybe a Google office would look. It's all very colourful, lots of plants, vending machines and things. But ultimately computer desks. So as you walk around this company, you can see when your tablet lights up and you can see when you can hack into other people's computers. And then you start hearing a voice, over your headset, and he's guiding you to hack into certain people's computers to try and retrieve documents and files, elements of history, those sorts of things that I guess will, by the end of the game, explain the whole bigger picture. Going into this as a new player, if you've never played Assassin's Creed before, you will see videos and little tidbits of information about Desmond Miles and I guess what happened, in the end of that series, and probably won't mean a whole lot to you, I guess probably until you get through to the end of the game. But for people that have played as a fan the whole way through, you will know immediately who that character is, what happened, what they're delving into, and realise that this is something massive that you're now a part of. So.
Is it fun wandering around a Google office being a computer hacker when you could be being a pirate who is also an assassin? That seems kind of...
Do you know what? Yeah, and do you know what? I've been chatting with somebody at work about this. They hate doing that. I get quite interested because every now and then it is nice to take a break from the 1700s and just chill out. Like, I'm not running, I'm not being stealthy, I don't have... and I love... Don't get me wrong, that's why I love Assassin's Creed. But it's kind of nice to just be this normal first person, just walking around looking at things and collecting stuff.
But do you know what, Candy? When I get sick of a game, instead of using the game to exit that experience and go into a first-person mode, I actually turn off the console and experience my own first-person perspective and go around my house and chill out.
Hey, I'm the first person on this show, and you know it. I'm always the one that says get up and get a life for a little bit and see the outdoors, right?
Let's talk about the core mechanics of the game and how they've been streamlined, I guess, for this new iteration of Assassin's Creed.
Sure.
So is it... like the controls and stuff, is it basically more of the same, or have they refined it?
No, it's pretty much the same.
Is there a crouch button? Why don't I want a crouch button?
Yeah, but he kind of does it automatically now because there's a lot of, there's a lot of those tall grassy areas that you just automatically hide in. So there's a lot of that going on, which means there's a lot of stealth missions. And, I like it, but I get a little bit over having to creep around and walk really slowly when I'm an awesome assassin. I just want to run fast and jump up on people and chop their head off. But I don't get to do that because I'm constantly creeping around like some stalker through tall grass, waiting for somebody to turn around and walk past me. It's typical. It's all of the characters are timed. You've got to sit there and wait for 7 seconds until they turn around and walk in the opposite direction. It's all that sort of thing. So yes, if you've played it before, you'll be very familiar with all of the, I guess the mechanics of it and just all the obstacles that you come across, same sorts of things, and just your missions. They're the same type. There's not really anything new.
You're going to dig this.
Candy's just been telling us all about Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag.
Yes.
Now, where the Black Flag comes in is obviously the piracy involved.
Yeah.
A large part of this is at sea, right? On a ship.
Boats. No
Yeah.
ships. You're on giant ships.
So you get custody of your own ship fairly early on in the piece?
Yes, you kind of take over one, the Jackdaw. So that's the ship that you get, which is great because it starts off like pretty much in shambles, and you rescue somebody else off an island, and then you become best buddies with this guy, and he's your like first mate or something, I guess. But he seems quite intelligent, and so he's letting you know calmly as you're just sailing the waters that your ship's falling apart, and there's not a whole lot you can do with it until it gets fixed up. So that kind of leads you into the whole fixing of things and recruiting pirates and ultimately just trying to make money to fix your ship and make it bigger and bigger and bigger with lots more cannons. But that's part of it. Naval battles are a big component of this game.
So are you enjoying the naval battles?
Not really. No, this probably falls into my negatives. It's not that I don't enjoy them, I just like there to be less of them. I like being on the ground, or I like running and climbing and jumping and all of that free running stuff, that's why I like Assassins. Out on the water, I just feel a bit lost. And I still, while it is significantly more manageable than the last game to maneuver these ships around, I still get very confused when I'm trying to look through a spyglass, turn my ship around, and then I realise that you've got to use the same controls to both turn the ship and fire guns and things like that. And so that's where I get really messed up, is I think I'm turning a cannon and then I'm turning my whole ship into like a cliff.
Right.
So it doesn't often end well for me.
All right, well, Candy, would you like to provide your closing comments? Sum up your review in one or two concise sentences?
Totally worth it. This just takes me back to why I love Assassin's Creed. If you don't like water and big ships and things, it's probably not great because it's very, very involved in the ocean. There's also a lot of hunting. I don't like hunting and I don't like whaling, but so I've tried to steer clear of that, but I think it's becoming more and more difficult because you're out there against like great white sharks and killer whales and things, and they will smash your boat to smithereens if you don't kill them. But I really struggle with that. Killing people's fine, but for some reason it comes to whaling and I can't do it. I try and turn my boat around and go the other way. But look, everybody pick it up, play it. There's
Cool.
so much to do. There really is.
So you played it on the Xbox 360,
Yeah.
but it is also available for pretty much all of the current
Yeah, it'll be out
consoles
on the new one.
and the new next generation, which is coming
Absolutely.
up really soon.
I couldn't wait for the new one, sorry, but I've not had any problems. There's no glitches, there's no dramas, and it's not running slow at all. So
Yep.
they've really done a lot to improve this one.
Well, yeah, as you remember, Assassin's Creed 3 was sort of plagued with these technical problems and made
3
it-
weeks in a row, I talked about how I was riding around on a horse and then I fell into like a big grey void and then that was the end of it. But none of that in this. It's brilliant.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Candy.
No problems.
You're listening to Z Games.
Hello and welcome back to Z Games. So Ray, you have been playing the Warcraft card game that is also a video game that is called Hearthstone.
Yep. Hearthstone.
Sounds simple.
Heroes of Warcraft. It is at first, but then it becomes more complex as you go along. Let me elaborate. I've been playing collectible card games or trading card games, TCGs, for about 3 or so years. Mainly Magic the Gathering. When I started the show, I wasn't a player, but then the guys at Ace Comics invited me along to one of their Friday Night Magic events. Ever since then, I have been like a Magic the Gathering fanatic. It's a game where if you're observing someone playing, it looks like the dullest, most strange and uninteresting thing imaginable. But the second that you pick up those cards and you're in control, it's actually a really terrific experience. So if you think that these card games are really bad and boring, or that only geeks play them, they're not. They're actually really complex and fun games. So that's like my defense there.
You don't feel like you needed to defend
Yeah.
yourself.
All right.
Do you know which radio show you're on, Ray?
Yeah, I do.
Have you got confused?
I did. So with Hearthstone, it's made by Blizzard, who are the same guys, of course, that are responsible for World of Warcraft, StarCraft, and Diablo. They have a reputation for delivering polished, well-balanced games, and they've sort of done it here. With this sort of game balance is extremely important. If there's even one card in the sort of selection of cards that is too powerful, it can just screw the entire thing up, and you have to really make sure that you monitor every possible or almost every possible interaction of card that you can, just to make sure that each of the cards is well balanced. Now, Blizzard are very good at this because they made StarCraft, which is of course a strategy game in which unit balance is very important. This game, Hearthstone, it's not out yet. It's in closed beta, so I was lucky enough to get an invite. Apparently, about 1 million invitations have gone out, and there's still demand for them. So it's doing okay. It's really popular. It should be in open beta starting from next month, I believe. It'll be released next year, and it's also coming out for tablet devices like Android and iOS. But it's primarily a PC/Mac game for now.
Excellent. Yep.
Yep. So it is going to be a free-to-play game. Where the money comes in is that you buy packs down the road. You can kind of grind for wins and buy packs using gold, or you can sort of jump in and buy packs for real money.
So what do you actually do
Yep.
in this game?
In this game, yes. You choose from one of several different characters. These characters will be familiar to Warcraft players. There's they correlate to the classes of character that you can choose from in World of Warcraft, like the druid, the warrior, the hunter, the priest, the mage, etc.
Who are you?
Well, I've got a couple of characters on the go. So you don't have to sort of commit to one character.
You player.
Yeah, that's right. Player for life.
So it's like you're playing one of the same kind of people you would play in World of Warcraft, only that character is also playing a card game?
That's right. So you choose a character, and that character has its own sort of selection of cards available, unique cards available only to that character. There is also a pool of cards that all characters can use.
Do you take turns in putting cards down? Is
Yes.
this how, I'm trying to visualize this?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not doing a very good job. But
that's all right.
basically,
That's what we're
what
here
you
for.
do is you start off with a randomized selection
Right.
of the cards that you have chosen to put into your deck. A deck comprises of 30 cards in this game.
Yep.
To cast these cards, once you have them in your hand, you have
So
to
they're
use
spells.
spells. Well, there's spells, and then there's creatures. Creatures stay on the battlefield and exist on the battlefield, and you can use them to attack.
Yep.
Spells have an effect that happens once, and then the spell is gone.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Makes sense.
in order to play these cards,
Yeah.
you have to spend resource. You just automatically gain 1 resource per turn. So
Right.
turn 1, you can only cast spells that cost 1. Turn 2, spells that cost 2, etc. There are ways to speed up this process temporarily. Like the mage has a couple of cards that can instantly give you 2 extra resources for that turn only. So you can kind of cheat it.
Who are you playing with?
It's a dueling game.
Right. So it's you and one other.
It's you and one other person. The object is to defeat the other player, bring their life total from, I think it's 30 to 0.
Yep.
Yep. And so you got your creature card, you lay it out. Your creatures can then attack. You can choose to either attack your opponent's creatures, so that's a defensive thing to get rid of them, or you can attack the player directly by selecting their avatar at the top and bottom of the screen. It's a strategic balance of trying to destroy what your opponent's doing while at the same time launching your own attack. Now, one thing that I love about this game is that when I'm playing Magic, like real paper Magic, when I'm sitting there with a real dude in front of me and putting cards down, in my mind, when I play like a really powerful spell or creature, my imagination just goes like that creature comes down from the heavens and just leaves a huge crater and stuff explodes and my opponent just goes, "Oh my God, I cannot deal with this. This is outrageous." In this game, that actually happens.
Oh, really?
Like when you throw down a powerful card, the board shakes. When you attack your opponent, the card just jumps up and just smacks your opponent's avatar right in the face, and it's with a huge thump. And when you die, you scream, and then your avatar explodes and leaves a huge crater.
Listeners, Razor is getting so excited. He's actually jumping up and down on his chair right now, like describing mammoth attacks.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you this excited in quite a while.
To bring us to the end of this review, I like to talk about the Arena mode, which is a very welcome addition. If you played Magic and you've ever drafted, this is kind of like the Hearthstone version of drafting. You have to choose 30 cards, but then you have to choose one card at a time from 3 cards, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
3
Yeah.
cards will come up and you'll choose one. The other 2 will disappear. You're given 3 new cards and
Right.
you choose one. And keep going until you got 30.
And you only have those cards for this one match.
Yeah, so you go into the arena with those cards, so you can't really use all your $1 million to go and buy the best cards and put together the deck that's scientifically calculated to crush everyone. It's more spontaneous, so you have this kind of deck that you've made on the fly, and you pit it up against opponents who are also playing arena mode, and you see how many wins you can get. And this is actually really fun.
So as soon as you lose, you're knocked out.
You can lose 3 times, so
Okay.
you have to see how many wins you can get losing only 3 times. Yep, and the better you do, the better the reward. Sometimes you'll get like money or gems or a new pack of cards.
Yeah, I was going to ask where the money comes from to keep buying cards.
Yeah, well, in this, every 3 wins against a real player will net you 10 gold. It's 100 gold to buy a pack of 5 cards. So
Oh.
it's a pretty hefty grind, but there are daily quests. And these will be things like win 2 games as a mage, or
Oh, yeah, yeah.
or early on it's really easy, like just play 1 game in against a real opponent. You'll get this achievement.
Yeah.
So if you go through and do the daily quests, you'll get a lot of gold, and I think that's sort of to keep the players coming back every day.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm running out of time, but Hearthstone is not out. It is in closed beta. Comes out for open beta next month, so anyone will be able to join in and play, and then a full release next year. All right, well, that's it for this episode of Zed Games, guys. If you're picking up an Xbox One this weekend, happy gaming. If you're picking up a PS4 next week, I guess you'll just have to wait till then. All right, I'm
Yep.
gonna kill this show before I say any more stupid stuff.
Wise move, my friend.
Thanks for listening. This has been Zed Games, recorded live in Brisbane on 4ZZZ and heard nationally thanks to the Community Radio Network. For more information on the show and to join the Zed Games community, head to our website, zgamesau.net, that's spelt Z-E-D, or send us an email at contact@zgamesau.net. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. Zed Games is produced with the assistance of the Community Broadcasting Foundation.